Okay, welcome to the Clear Minds podcast. I'm here with Anthony today.
Yes.
Anthony,
Hi, Carlo.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good.
Today we're going to talk about Anthony's personal journey in sobriety. The ups and downs, relapse, a lot going on. So, let's get into it. So we'll start off by starting the journey. Anthony, what was the moment of realization that made you say, I want to get sober, or I need to get sober?
It was just, it was just a moment when I knew that if I kept doing what I was doing, using alcohol and drugs, I would die. I also was in a deep depression, so there was days that I wanted to die. But it was for me life and death. Because if I kept drinking, I would die. My health, I've had health issues. So I have to, I have to take care of myself. I can't keep drinking.
So physical health and mental health.
That's right. Both on the both sides, physical and mental.
I know what you mean there because physically, from drinking, I was admitted to the hospital 2 times for pancreatitis in such a short amount of time, where the doctor said, how long have you been drinking? And it's only been such a small window, but
Right.
battling, um, you know, um, what I went through or what you guys went through, it's life or death.
Right.
It's life or death. What was the moment of realization that made? Okay, we talked about that. Did you try to quit on your own at first?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just about every day, I would tell myself that I'm not going to drink the next day. I would, try to make deals with myself, bargain with myself that, I'm only going to drink this amount or I'm not going to drink the next day. And, the compulsion, I just couldn't do it. I would wake up and, the same thing. I would think inside my head that the drink is going to make me feel better. But it really didn't. But, that's the compulsion. I couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down.
And how long was like your the longest that you put on your own? Like how long did those periods usually last? Like where you're able to
I could this last time around I couldn't get a day. I mean, I was drinking every day in the morning, throughout the day, and I had to have it every single day. So I couldn't even get one day.
I know what you mean. And yeah, I mean, is it just, after that day, is it more like a physical craving that you want for more, like you mentioned, is it more psychological, like something mental that's
Once again, that's going to be both,
well,
psychological and mental, and physical. Because physically I would feel sick if I didn't drink, and mentally, that's what my mind was telling me, and that's the compulsion, that's the allergy that we have from alcohol, the way it says it in the big book.
Absolutely. What are your biggest fears? What were your biggest fears about getting sober in the beginning?
My biggest fears were just getting through 1 or 2 days without having anything to use. I think one of my other biggest fears was sleeping. Because I mean, there was times where, when I first started drinking, after I relapsed, I started drinking because I couldn't sleep at night. I would get a lot of anxiety at night. I mean, my heartbeat would just take off. And I would panic. It was like panic attacks. So that was one of the reasons I started drinking. I started drinking at night before going to bed. So that was one of my biggest fears was, am I going to be able to get to sleep without drinking?
It's funny you mentioned that. I was in a period of time in that, sleep was so hard for me and getting to sleep where there is a window of time, before I decided, because that was one of the big two things for me too was sleep. And I had to take sleep medicine every night
Right.
to help me go to sleep. And I ended up depending on that
Right.
to get me to sleep. So I know what you mean there, and yeah, it's definitely. Um, I know what you mean by not sleeping and dealing with that.
Yeah, it can be really, it's a really difficult situation, when with sleep, because we need our sleep.
You know, sleep. You
Yeah,
need to
we do.
reset. You need to. I went through this week. This week has been a good week. But going to work and
Right.
dealing with kids, having a girlfriend, trying to go out. It's a lot, and I noticed this week just not missing like an hour of sleep. I feel it.
Right.
I
Right.
feel it. I'm not.
Right.
I'm the same, but I can feel slower. I can feel sluggish. I'm just not fully me yet.
Right. Right.
And and it's scary. I didn't like it, but that's how important sleep is
Right.
for me.
Right.
The stages in sobriety. What did you feel the first days or weeks feel like for you in sobriety?
Um, it was hard the first week,
Mm-hmm.
very difficult physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a lot of sleeping, and tried to keep busy. I was reading a lot. But the first week was pretty tough. The days went very slow. But I got through it. I mean, but it was a challenge.
Did you read anything in particular?
I was reading the AA Big Book.
Okay.
That's what I was reading.
Yep.
Hmm.
Um, and what was that time on your own, or where is it? What in that time was it in treatment or?
I was in treatment at a detox center.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was in detox for 8 days.
I remember my first week there. It was tough mentally for me. But one thing they were giving me was like a taper, and I was just sleeping a
Right.
lot,
Right.
and I thought to myself that this is what sobriety is going to be like. All right, it's not too bad.
Right.
But when did things start feeling more manageable or feel good?
After treatment, because when you're in treatment, you're it's like being in a bubble,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I would say after treatment, within the first couple weeks, I just started getting used to everything. I mean, I started getting a routine, going to meetings every day. But I would say like the second week after leaving treatment.
That's when things started to feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Were there any milestones that felt really meaningful to you, like 30 days?
Well, just getting 30 days, getting 60 days. I mean, that was big for me,
That was big
because
because you mentioned before, it's hard to just get one
yeah,
day.
it was hard to get one day. So just having, getting a couple months, getting 2 months under my belt. I mean, that was a good feeling, and and I'm starting to feel better every day. It's a process. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, struggling and drinking for a long time, so it's not gonna just happen overnight. It's a
Mm-hmm.
process.
It's a process for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing they say is, um, "Hey, I wish you a slow recovery." And I think that's what I had. That's what I feel, a slow recovery, because it's not all come at once. It came slow, and I still don't understand everything to this day, what's in the book and the big book and all this. But like you said, it's a process, and every day, we just as long as we don't pick up a drink, we're good for that
Right.
day.
Right. Exactly.
How did your perspective or mindset shift over time?
Just I mean, I had to start practicing, asking people for help.
Mm.
Because that's one of the things that I didn't do, in the past when I tried to get, sober. I didn't ask for help. I didn't. I wasn't working on the steps. So working on this, I'm working on the steps, asking for help, reaching out to my sponsor every day. I mean, those are things that I've done differently this time around. Yeah. So I would say that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So having a sponsor, going through the steps, reaching out, and the big one, asking for help.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we'll get into something, experiencing relapse. It happens to most people.
Right.
Going through recovery, there's a few select that are one-hit wonders, but, it's definitely something that, everyone, most people in recovery deal with. Um, so when the relapse happened, how did it unfold? Was it quick, slow, unexpected?
It was slow, but I mean, I wasn't I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't working with my sponsor. I wasn't working the steps. So all those things that people tell you that you're really supposed to do that. I mean, if you want to stay sober, I wasn't doing. Um, so for me, I mean, it was like a slow process, but gradually, I mean, when I look back, I can see it. I can kind of see how it happened. But I would say it was a slow process, and but once I started drinking, I wasn't able to put it
It's like the allergy you
down.
mentioned.
It's like the
Once
allergy.
it gets in, it's hard.
Hmm.
But now looking back, now it's probably so much more beneficial to be able to notice all those things now.
Right, right.
What were the thoughts and emotions that showed up right before or after?
Um, just before was a lot of fear,
Mm-hmm.
panic. Like I mentioned to you before I went to bed, I would have those panic attacks, anxiety, panic attacks. So before it was just fear, which is fear. Um, and then after. Now, did you mean after?
After the relapse. So like before and then after, like maybe when you woke up or the
Yeah, I
next
mean,
day.
once I had the relapse, I mean, clearly I felt like shit. I felt bad about it, but I wasn't able to put, to stop drinking once I started. So I mean, it felt bad. It felt bad, but I was still trying to numb myself with the alcohol.
Um, and I was anything causing the panic attacks that I meant to ask that before. Like, does any or did they just come on its own?
I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. So that's just something I've struggled with. Um, you know, and like I was telling you earlier, I mean, for me, when this anxiety happens, I mean, my heartbeat just, I mean, I've had tests done where they've seen my heartbeat up at 130.
Mm.
And I just struggle. That's one of the issues I struggle with. But that I mean, it's just a bad feeling. It's a panic. It's a panic fear. And for me, I mean, I would try to find different ways to stop the anxiety at night. I would drink a lot of tea. I would try different things. I mean, and it's just something I struggle with.
I for those who have never experienced it, what it's like is your heart, like you everything you mentioned, heart beating out of your chest, and your brain racing. Not really. I dealt with it for an extended period of time, where it actually started affecting my thinking. Like I would
Hmm.
have brain
Hmm.
fog.
Right.
I couldn't even think like straight of what I was doing. I just know I was going through the motions of life without really like thinking, being able
Right.
to think. Um, I know what you mean there. Did relapsing change the way you think about addiction or recovery?
I'm just grateful.
Just great.
I'm very grateful just to be sober and where I'm at today, right now. I'm just very grateful, and I've met some good people that are in my life. Um, I mean, that's really it. I'm just very grateful today. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, so now we'll just talk about what it was like, going back to rehab or getting help again. What made you decide to go back to treatment or seek help again?
Um, I had blackouts. I had more blackouts. One night, I couldn't even walk. I had to crawl to my inside my apartment. Um, I mean, just I was very depressed. Very depressed. Wanted to die, and I just wanted help. My sister reached out to me, and she came over my apartment. She seen how bad it was, and we talked about me getting help, and I was just willing to get help. I just got tired of living like that. That just is I was in such a depressive state, so I just wanted help. I just wanted help. I want to live. I want to live right. I want to live with, facing life on life's terms. Um, you know, those were all things that I wanted to change. And, so that's when I decided to go to treatment.
Yeah, that's I had a similar situation happen to me when I was just living, and then somebody came to visit me, and there's bottles everywhere, and I'm a mess,
That's right.
and it was just that I went to actually treatment for 1 day, or actually it was 3 days. Um, Left, and the first thing I did was go right to the store, drink, and ended up going to rehab again that day. But for it took me twice. It took me a couple times
Right, right,
to want to do it or be ready,
right,
or I don't
right,
know really
right.
fully how to explain it.
Yeah, you have to be ready, willing. And for me, it just got, for me, it got that bad.
Yeah,
And sometimes it has to get that bad for us. It has to get that bad where we just don't see any other way except, getting help.
hmm
And, while I was in treatment, I've looked at it differently than other times, when I've tried to get sober. I was willing to do the extra steps this time. I'm willing to reach out to take suggestions. I started looking forward to go to meetings, changing my mindset, my perspective on meetings. Instead of thinking it's like a drag, or I started looking forward to going to them. And now I'm enjoying the meetings, and doing the work, and reaching out to people, letting them know I need help. So I just feel different. I feel good today. Yep.
Amazing. Um, how was the second time different from the first time? So they're kind of like what you said.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm just taking action
Taking
this time
action.
around. Last time I was just going through the motions, but this time I'm taking action, and I feel good. I feel really good, and I'm in a good. Right now I'm in a good position right now. As far as feeling good and just feeling, and working with my sponsor, and um, working the steps, sharing at meetings, meeting new people, getting phone numbers, calling them, using the phone numbers. I'm reading every night, reading the stories in the big book, and it's amazing how I can relate. I'm sure you can too. We can relate to all those stories. The people that have struggled, and they've made it to the other side, and it's nice to hear their stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, as long as we don't quit trying to get better, we will get better.
Right, right.
You know?
Yep, yep.
Did you notice anything in rehab that felt new or real or more hopeful this time around?
Just just me taking, like I was saying earlier, just taking the initiative, to take action, you know.
Like, because one thing that stuck out to me that I hear now is that, alcohol is a progressive illness, alcoholism. And, the first time around, when I was younger, I didn't know, I didn't even probably pay attention to that.
Right.
Until years later, I experienced it, and I saw, that then it came in my head, wow, this really is progressive illness. Like they'll say, that my addiction is doing push-ups. It's getting ready for me. It's waiting for me.
Right, right,
Um, so I realized that this time around. So so you're saying something similar. So now the stuff that you heard now and there, kind of makes more sense. Relating
right,
to the stories, being able to put yourself in those shoes and like you said, the main thing, taking action.
right, right.
So now we'll just discuss a little life after now, life now. Being sober again.
Just yeah. Well, life is good today.
Mhm.
Um, it's good. I have my routine. I go to meetings every day. I work. I'm looking for, I'm looking, I'm always looking to go to hang out, with people, and looking, I'm looking to have fun, enjoy myself, follow some hobbies. But life is good.
So what's been the biggest difference in your recovery now compared to before?
Just me reaching out to people, asking for help, and just realizing that I have to take suggestions. Instead of me trying to do things my own way, just taking the suggestions from other people, and being open-minded, and also perspective, trying to
Perspective
yeah,
is
to
big.
trying to be positive, a different state of you're thinking differently. You're always looking for the best instead of looking for the worst. um,
Like I mentioned this before, instead of looking at it like instead of I have to do this, I get to do this and enjoying it,
right.
enjoying it. How do you deal with fear of relapsing again, or do you think about that much?
I just take it day by day, one day at a time, and keep taking action. And I know if I believe if I keep doing what I'm doing, and and just stay consistent, not forget how bad it got before I got sober. Not forget those things, and just stay humble. Stay open minded. Keep working. Working on ourselves. That things will be good this time.
Amazing. So you kind of touched on this before, but are there any new routines, tools for people that are part of your recovery that weren't before? So any routines, people? Um,
Just every morning I go to a meeting. And every day I reach out to my sponsor. And then I'm reaching out to other people in the also that have the same issues I do. Um, I'm also in therapy, so I continue to take therapy, and stay involved, and I'm also getting involved in the meetings.
Staying connected,
Yes.
being involved.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Um, what are some everyday wins that you celebrate now in life?
Just just talking to family, talking to my kids. That's a win because they've seen how I struggled. They want the best for me, but that's a big win, and and just having a different way of life. Waking up and feeling good. About yourself. Starting to work on yourself. So they're all wins to me.
If you could go back now and talk to your pre-sober self, what would you say?
Talk to who?
Your pre-sober self, what would you say?
My priest.
No, no, pre-sober. So it's also like before you
Oh,
got
okay.
sober. If you had any advice or anything, um,
Just take action.
take action.
I mean, if you're gonna get sober and go to AA meetings, or NA meetings, just take action. It's a program of action. It's and once you get involved, that and you take the suggestions, that then things will get better for you.
Well, Anthony, I think you have an amazing story. You showed resilience. Deciding to get sober, the ups and downs, dealing with a relapse, bouncing back even better than before. I think that's amazing, and I think we take it day by day, and I commend you for it, and I admire that. I
Okay.
think that's amazing. And we'll just finish it off. What brings you the most joy and peace today?
Just helping people, helping people, being there for people, for friends when they need you. Praying to God, and that's something we haven't talked about. But
Right, right.
God is huge. I mean,
Yes.
without God, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Mhm.
I pray every day, and I know that God has been there looking out for me, and been there throughout the entire time. So without God, none of this is possible. That's the most important right now. The most important person in my life now is God, and I'm very grateful to have God, and to walk with Him.
I think God has been the only reason why I was able to get through what I went through, and
Right,
I'm so
right.
glad that you brought that around to this point.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when I say follow the steps,
Mhm.
if you read the steps, I mean, just about every step mentions God, in it. So God is, like, to me, a huge part of this program. It's huge. I mean, so I mean, if you are working a program, most of the people will have a relationship with God. So that's the most important thing in my life, is my relationship with God.
I didn't know how much God was in it in the program before I got in it, and
Yeah,
if it wasn't the way it is, I don't know if I would be so involved in the program
yeah,
the way I am. And like I said, the disease broken spiritually, mentally, and physically.
yeah,
And I think we fix all those three parts. I think we become who we're meant to be.
yeah.
In God's eyes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consequences. I mean, when we're using, we things go wrong, so we have consequences. I mean, you might crash your car, you debt, financial, credit card debt, or being in debt. But you know what? Since I've been praying to God about all my, all the issues or things that I had to fix, and God has answered every prayer so far. So I just believe that when we ask Him, He will be there, and He'll give us what we need. He'll take care of us.
We'll provide.
Yep, yep, He will. He will.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. If you got any advice to anybody that's thinking about getting sober but don't know what to do, um,
I would first say, just get on your knees, and ask God for help. And I think He will bring people into your life that can help you. You can also reach out to a friend or someone that maybe is connected to the program or has some type of experience in recovery. Reach out to them. You can go online, on the internet. You can reach out to people, just doing a search, a Google search. And there's hotlines, but just the main thing is reaching out for help, asking God to open doors up, and He will open the doors. And I think that's a way for you to reach out and start and find some help.
amazing. Anthony, thank
All
you.
right, Carlo. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.